Wouldn't you just love it if you could make everyone, well not everyone, but anyone that you want to like you? As if as a person you were just likable by anyone with any personality type. It's like you had a preset for each individual person. You could know what to say, know how to act, know how to respond to them to make them grow fond of you. Even those people, you know, those people that you just don't get as a person. You don't get why they act the way they do, why they believe in what they do, why they do the things that they do. Who knows? Imagine if you could understand those people to the T. Well, I'm going to share with you a book that makes this possible. A book that I read almost 2 years ago today, and it's changed the way in which I interact with people. It's changed the way I view them, the way I conversate with them, and it's given me such a well-rounded idea of human nature and human psychology as a whole. These skills I'm going to run you through have helped me make connections, build relationships, create friendships with people with different viewpoints that think in different ways to me, and it is fantastic. Because in a very weird, subtle way, it makes me able to manipulate the situation that I'm in, because a lot of people don't get this, but people control everything. People control the government. People are in the power, right? And if you have the power to understand, to influence, to weirdly manipulate people, then you have all the power, you have all the control. So it would be foolish to not do all to your ability to understand people to the absolute T, because you are just feeding yourself power. And remember, understanding people gives you power. So let me tell you how to understand people. So this guy, Tom Erickson, wrote the book known as Surrounded by Idiots, and the way that he says it is that human nature can be split up into a matter of 4 different categories, which in here are portrayed by colours. You've got red, yellow, blue, and green, and each of these colours contain a collection of attributes, and these attributes are what are put together to make a personality. And the way it's taught is that every single person you and I know can fall into one of these colours, one of these categories. Some people fall into 2 colours, very small percentage of people fall into even 3 colours, and a very, very, very small percentage, quite rare, people fall into every single one of those colours, but those people typically have some sort of personality disorder. And here's the way to view it. Your red is your dominant person, your alpha male, typically like the CEO or the manager of something. With traits such as being strong-willed, independent, ambitious, but also can be pushy and strict and dominant. You know, the kind of people where it's like, it's either their way or no way at all. And next you have your yellow, and this is your quite bubbly and bright person. They can be optimistic, they are creative and social, but can also be quite manipulative and undisciplined and egotistic in some senses. These people are typically like leaders and decision makers and take control, but do it in a different way to how the reds do it. Next you have your blue, and if you're going to picture blue, then picture them working on an Excel spreadsheet. They're very logical and step by step, thoughtful and persistent, but also they can be critical and narrow-minded and indecisive. Quite a smart person typically, but kind of unsocial. And finally you have your green, your more average person. Supportive, respectful, reliant, but also can be stubborn and uncertain, and in some senses can be quite awkward. Now this is the most common colour that you'll see amongst them all, can even be a collection of all the other colours put into one, but this is not to be taken in a negative way. Now why should you care about these colours, and how is it going to help you understand people? Well, when understanding these colours to the T, and when you meet someone in your life or have someone in your life, you can communicate with them absolutely precisely. You understand what they're going to say, why they're responding the way they are, and you can almost like predict it in a weird way. You can kind of predict the future in how they're going to react. Let me give you an example. Say you had a job interview, for example, right, and you went in fully guns blazing, fully prepared, confident, ready to smash it, feeling independent, but your interviewer was actually a red person. They fall into the red category of their personality, and they are dominant, they are controlling, and they are confident, and they need to be the biggest and loudest person in the room. Well, if they see you've come in the room trying to get a job from them, they may feel some way threatened by your presence. And now reds love a challenge, but they don't like to be put on the back foot, and in this sense you've just ruined the whole dynamic of the interview because your personality traits are instantly clashing. So you've made a very, very bad first impression. Whereas if you went in with a completely neutral personality, assessed them as the interviewer and what kind of personality they are, and bearing in mind you can do this in literally about 20 seconds from meeting a person, then you can change up your characteristics and almost be like understanding and open and hardworking and this kind of stuff, which in the Reds' eyes is this perfect employer, right? Therefore you ace the interview, you get the job, bam, success. And that is just a tiny, tiny little example of how this can impact you in the real world. Another reason why almost studying and understanding these colours to the T is because communication happens on the listener's terms, into a way that they understand, if you like, and a message that you conceive will never be received as you mean it to be received. And you guessed it, each and every single colour here interprets your message a different way. Just as an example, say you had a message to give your friends. You had a yellow friend and a blue friend, and the message you wanted to give them is that in a dark tone you were depressed, right? You told both your friends you were depressed separately. If you tell the yellow person you're depressed, they may take it as almost like a challenge, like an invitation to try and make you happy, or they may even take it in the way of sweeping it under the rug and being like, everything's positive, everything's fine, this is just like a little blip in your emotion. Whereas if you tell your blue friend, they may take it as like a responsibility to try and do some research and find out the method to make you undepressed and happy again. So these people both take it completely different ways, although you told them the exact same message, whereas you just want to be listened to. You just want to talk to someone. And that's why it's important to actually understand how they're going to receive the message, and in that way you can kind of adapt how you conceive the message. And once you understand it, it's so interesting, because you said the exact same thing to both of them, they just interpret it completely differently. I said before that understanding these colors make people grow fond of you, and it's completely true, because when conversating with a person, when meeting one of these colors for the first time, the different ways you can kind of act and speak to them and like mirror their language will make them grow fond of you quicker. Say for example the red, you just met them for the first time, you're going to want to be very formal and very straightforward with them, no waffle, no daydreaming, this kind of stuff. You want to be almost very presentable, very alpha male to them. Say for example you met a yellow person for the first time, you're trying to make a good first impression, you want to be very bubbly and very sort of like enthusiastic and optimistic. If you met a green person, you want to be very down to earth, you want to be very human to them and relate to them in as many ways as you possibly can. And say you meet a blue person for the first time trying to get on their good side, you want to be very structural to them, you want to be very like factual if you like, because people tend to love people that can mirror their actions. And you've heard it before when like in a job interview and stuff, the best way to do it is mirror what the interviewer is doing to you, but these kind of like mirroring their personality is a whole step up, and mirroring their personality enables them to grow fond of you, and therefore you then have control, right? And that is it, ladies and gents. I could go on about this book for literally hours and hours, but I want to give you an incentive to buy it yourself and read it yourself. So if you are interested to do so, click on the link below. There'll be an Amazon link where you can buy this book, I think for a pretty cheap amount in all honesty, and read it. I really do recommend that you read it and learn all the tips and tricks in this book. And then please do let me know what you think of it, and let me know if there's any other books that you want me to cover and dissect to make these kind of videos on, and I'll make them 100%. But in the meantime, hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Cheers.